pose the their legislative rules here in the state of California have constitutional protection. And what I mean by that is we have the Assembly rules, the Senate rules, and the joint rules of the Senate and Assembly. And do they have equal standing as constitutional provisions? Because those three sets of rules flow from a specific grant of authority. Specifically in Article 4, Section 7A of the California Constitution, it says, each house shall choose its officers and adopt rules for its proceedings. So as a result of this language, both houses of the California Legislature obviously have specific constitutional authority to adopt rules to govern their proceedings. And of course, the legislature is a separate branch of California state government. And so we would imagine that they should have the ability to fully exercise their lawmaking power that's granted by Article 1, Section 1. So it'd be logical to assume that these three sets of rules are on par with constitutional provisions related to the California legislative process. Now, in the legislature, in the California Constitution in Article 4, there are a number of legislative process rules and procedures, such as the requirement that the bills introduced be read 3 times on 3 separate days. The bills can't be acted upon for 30 days after the date of introduction, that bills have to pass by a majority vote of both houses, et cetera. And in addition to this constitutional authority and the constitutional procedural requirements I just mentioned, the California Government Code also provides a number of statutes relating to the legislative department, which is what they call the legislative branch, just as the executive branch is actually called the executive department in the government code. Anyways, if you look in the California Government Code Division 2, sections 8902 to 10606, there are numerous statutes about the legislature and the legislative process. These include state statutes, laws on legislative organization, the legislative code of ethics, officers and the election of officers, the enactment of statutes, the adoption of resolutions, the operation of statutes, the operation of resolutions, legislative publications, the legislative powers, rules, aids to the legislature. And of course, in the hierarchy of laws, the state constitution sits atop of all of our laws, followed by statutes, then regulations that are adopted by executive branch state agencies. But where do these three sets of rules fall? Well, as you can imagine, the rules can't contravene the state constitution, nor can they contravene state statutes. In other words, the Assembly rules, Senate rules, and the joint rules have to be consistent with and not be in conflict with any legislative process rules contained in the California Constitution or any statutes in the California Government Code. So even though these three sets of rules that are adopted at each 2-year session of the legislature, it doesn't mean that they have equal standing with the state constitution, nor can they be inconsistent with state statutes.